After confirming the pregnancy, I took a taxi directly to the pawn shop in the city center. I wanted to pawn a ring. The ring was left by my parents before the car accident. I wasn't sure how much this ring was actually worth. What if it was only worth 10 or 20,000? Or even 1 or 2,000? Not to mention raising the baby, I wouldn't even be able to support myself. I passed the ring through the window. After the employee looked at it, he was silent for a moment and then went aside to make a phone call. The smile on my face froze. No way, no way. Could this ring have an improper origin and they're going to call the police to arrest me? Just as I was considering whether to run away, the employee had already hung up the phone and walked over. It seemed like he was going to stop me, and he happened to stand at the door. Sir, sorry to keep you waiting. The value of this ring. Our shop can't estimate it for the time being, but please rest assured, our boss will be here soon. Please wait a moment. When things are abnormal, there must be something fishy. I covered my stomach and ran away at full speed. Just as I ran out of the door, more than a dozen bodyguards surrounded me tightly. After confirming that they had me surrounded so that I couldn't escape, they made way for the man behind them. The man was very tall. By visual estimation, he was over 9 meters. He was dressed in a well-tailored black suit and had an air of noble aloofness. He was a bit like the pervert that night. What was even more similar was the pheromone on him. But soon I denied it. Which wealthy young man would go to such a low-class bar? The man stopped in front of me, and I subconsciously took a step back. He frowned slightly, his eyes falling on my face as if confirming something, and his thin lips pursed slightly. William, judging from his look, he's the one who comes to collect the debt. I lowered my head and ran, but was grabbed around the waist by a pair of big hands, fished up forcefully, and then pressed against the front hood of the Maybach. Hey, this is a bit rude, isn't it? My face was pressed against the hood of the car, but a man's puzzled voice came from behind me. Have you gained weight? I was stunned, glared at him, and spat. You're the one who's gained weight. Then, like a fish out of water, I struggled desperately, but someone pinched my cheek. The man kneaded the flesh that puffed up on my face, as if it was fun, and his tone became much more cheerful. Be good. I don't want to hurt you. A wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him. That's the way it is in life. I let out an and nodded reluctantly, then relaxed my body. I won't run away, but can you let me go first? I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. The man still didn't let go, seemingly considering the truth of my words. He's really vigilant. Just as I finished complaining, a strong sense of nausea hit me, and I couldn't hold it back and vomited. The man instinctively let go of his hand and took a step back. I seized this opportunity and slipped under his armpit. I had only run a few steps after getting out when I was grabbed by the collar and pulled back. The man sighed helplessly and said, "You still haven't learned your lesson." Then my hands were tied up and I was carried onto the car. All right, 3 people, just like that. You took them all away at once. MMPH, tie me up if you want, but why cover my mouth? I stared at the man in front of me with red-rimmed eyes, wishing I could bore holes through him. The man sat across from me, with his long, slender legs crossed, looking extremely elegant. Seeing me glaring at him, he raised an eyebrow and showed a playful smile. What? Are you that eager to talk to me? I rolled my eyes, showing my disdain. Who cares? The scenery outside the car window flashed by in reverse, and I only felt a bout of dizziness. Darn pregnancy symptoms. I started retching again, and fine beads of sweat broke out on my forehead. The man keenly sensed something was wrong and reached out to remove the tape from my mouth. What's going on? I glared at him irritably and gritted my teeth. Car sickness. The man lowered his eyes and thought for a moment. Without asking too many questions, he took out a motion sickness pill from the drawer and forced it into my mouth. I coughed several times in discomfort, turned my face away and didn't want to talk to him, but I felt really annoyed inside. In the end, I just couldn't hold it back. Hey, who on earth are you? Why did you kidnap me? Do you know that kidnapping someone is illegal? The man didn't reply. He played with the tape in his hand, sticking it back and forth on his fingertips. His movements were slow and leisurely, as if he wasn't just playing with a piece of tape. After kneading the tape into a ball, he finally spoke unhurriedly. I'm Noah, your creditor. Your parents sold you to me. So now, I'm here to collect my goods. I was stunned. It took me several seconds to realize what he was saying, and then I flew into a rage. I lunged at him, grabbed his tie, and interrogated him looking down. You're talking nonsense. My parents would never sell me to a pervert like you. Oh, young master. Noah lifted his lowered eyes. I flinched under his gaze, but still put on a show. What are you doing? He stared at me silently for a few seconds, then suddenly got very close. his voice low and hoarse. Has anyone ever told you? It's very dangerous to sit on a man like this. I was stunned for a moment and then realized how ambiguous our current position was. I was almost sitting on his lap, and my hands were still holding his tie. In this position, if I moved even a little, I would touch inappropriate places. I bounced away like I'd been electrocuted, blushing, and stammered an explanation. I didn't mean to. Noah laughed softly. The vibration of his chest made me tremble slightly too. My thigh touched a certain place. I got angry and slapped it. What are you laughing at? I'll beat it to pieces, he hissed, and then laughed even louder. After laughing enough, he slowly said, Young master, if you're so thin-skinned, how are you going to serve me in the future? I was stunned. Me? Serve? You? He nodded. His tone matter of fact, your parents sold you to me. From now on, you're mine, and naturally you have to serve me. I was so angry that I trembled all over. I've already said that my parents would never sell me to you. You're illegally detaining me. He slowly tidied up the tie that I had messed up and looked at me with a half smile. Illegally detaining you? Young master, get it straight. Your parents owe me a huge sum of money, and you're the collateral. I'm now exercising my legitimate rights. I opened my mouth, frowned, and was unable to refute. My parents did owe a lot of money, so much that even if I sold myself, I couldn't pay it off. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been working in the lowest class bar and been thoroughly taken advantage of. I slumped my head down dejectedly, and tears welled up uncontrollably. It wasn't that I blamed my parents, it was that I blamed myself for being useless. I don't know what happened. My old problem flared up again. Once I started crying, I couldn't stop. When I came to my senses, I had already been carried out of the car by Noah and seated at the dinner table. I rubbed my eyes, looked at the table full of dishes, and stubbornly turned my head away. I'm not going to eat. My parents have always taught me that if you take someone's handouts, you'll be in their debt. If I eat this man's food, I'll surely be unable to escape. Then I'll become the so-called canary, the secret lover who can't see the light of day. More importantly, I'm now pregnant with 2 babies. If it's discovered, I'll be beaten to death. What? Are you afraid I'll poison you? After a 20-minute standoff, Noah's slightly angry voice rang out, and then someone grabbed my chin. A spoonful of egg custard was forcefully stuffed into my mouth. I was forced to swallow it, and a faint milky fragrance spread in my mouth. To be honest, it really tasted good, but I still stiffened my neck and refused. No, I won't eat your food. If you won't eat this, then have something else. Noah's deep and slightly annoyed voice rang in my ear. Before I could react to what he meant, he picked me up by the buttocks and carried me all the way into the bedroom. Sitting on the bed, I stared wide-eyed, watching him take off his coat, shirt, tie one by one. In the middle of the night, I knocked on Noah's bedroom door, pleading with a pitiful cry. Noah! There was still no sound from inside the door. How heartless. How could someone be so heartless? I slid down to the floor, buried my head in Noah's pajamas, took a few deep breaths, which made my legs go weak and a tickling sensation emerged from my bones. Why won't you open the door? Can't I admit I was wrong? If I had known that pheromones would make me feel so bad, I wouldn't have driven Noah away. The second stage differentiation came so suddenly that I was completely unprepared. I felt like my whole body was on fire. Just before I fainted, a familiar scent of cedar appeared and completely enveloped me. Like a fish back in water, I jumped up all at once, pushed him into the bedroom, pinned him against the wall, and buried my nose in his neck, sniffing eagerly. Noah, I really know I was wrong. Please give me some more of your pheromones. Okay. Seeing that Noah didn't move, I leaned in closer to his nape and rubbed against it. You promised. Please say it quickly. Please say it. I murmured in a daze, begging with a cry, completely losing my usual reserve and pride. Noah's eyes were dark, and his Adam's apple rolled as if he was trying his best to restrain something. Finally, he picked me up and threw me onto the bed. What followed was an overwhelming wave of pheromones, so strong that it almost drowned me. When I woke up the next day, Noah was already gone. Having smelled the pheromones all night, I only felt refreshed and comfortable all over. But thinking that I had begged for a mark all night without success, I felt extremely frustrated. I got out of bed barefoot and quietly opened the door. As soon as I poked my head out, I saw Noah's cold jawline. He was leaning against the wall, holding a cigarette between his fingers, and the scarlet flame flickered on and off. Hearing the sound of the door opening, he turned his head. His deep gaze fell on my feet, and he frowned slightly. I was startled and instinctively wanted to close the door, but Noah blocked it with his hand. He stubbed out the cigarette and threw it into the trash can. He said in a calm tone, "Are you awake?" I nodded and then shook my head, mumbling in a low voice, "No, I'm not awake." Saying that, I was about to run back, but he grabbed me and pulled me back. Avoiding me? I averted my eyes guiltily and said, "No, I'm not. It's better if you're not." Noah's fingers pressed against my lips. He said in a menacing tone, "I have a meeting this afternoon and won't be back. You stay at home obediently. Got it?" I quickly nodded like a well-behaved dog. Only then did Noah satisfactorily ruffle my hair. Watching the man's departing back, I stuck out my tongue and gave him the finger. Well, pretending to be good. Who can't do that? After dinner, I went back to my bedroom. After standing by the window and thinking for a while, I decided to climb out. When I was a child, I tried this method countless times to skip private lessons. I'm already very familiar with it. It's just the second floor. It's a piece of cake. After landing steadily, I clapped my hands and walked out of the villa proudly. Humph, do they think they can lock me up? In their dreams. After crawling out of the villa through the dog hole, I rushed back to my rental apartment and dug out a rusty cookie tin from under the small wooden bed. Inside is the money I saved by myself after my family went bankrupt. Although it's not much, it should be enough. I touched my stomach and still felt a little guilty. But there's no way. I can't be an omega who only knows how to rely on others. I don't allow it now, and I definitely won't allow it in the future. Holding the cookie tin, I ran to the hospital. After hurriedly making an appointment for an abortion, I sat on the chair in the corridor and stared blankly. The cold air stimulated my skin and made me shiver. I wrapped my coat tightly around me and buried my face in my scarf. Ugh, I really hate it. It's all Noah's smell. Saying this, I took a deep breath of it. At this time, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Worried that it might be someone asking for debt, I hesitated for a moment but still answered it. A deep and familiar male voice came from the phone. "Sweetheart, will you come here by yourself, or should I come to you?" I looked up in shock and saw Noah not far away, wearing a suit and with a gloomy face. Without thinking, I got up and ran. Noah was very fast and had long legs. He caught me in just a few steps. His eyes half squinted. "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question but an affirmative sentence. I froze in place, my hands shaking violently. The biscuit tin slipped from my arms. The lid popped open, and the money inside scattered like raindrops on the ground. Many of them were old, including 100 yuan notes, 50 yuan notes, and even 10-cent coins. I panicked and tried to pick them up, but the bodyguard beside Noah got there first. "No, no." I suddenly sobbed and roared, my voice full of panic and despair. "This is mine. It's all mine. I saved it for so long. For so long." Tears welled up uncontrollably and slid down my cheeks. I was crying so hard that I couldn't catch my breath and was trembling all over, but I still stubbornly lay on the ground, protecting the pile of money and refusing to move. Noah frowned, and a fleeting look of pity flashed in his eyes. He waved his hand to signal the bodyguard to step back and then squatted down and approached me himself. "Sweetheart, look up and let me see you." Something in my heart was touched, and I looked up with tear-filled eyes. "Is sweetheart short of money?" I choked and nodded, my throat feeling like it was blocked with cotton, unable to make a sound. "Then let me give you money." "Okay." Noah's voice rang out again, with a hint of coaxing. I pouted, "No." A look of confusion flashed across the man's eyes. "Why?" I hugged the biscuit tin tightly in my arms, as if holding my precious, and said sullenly, "You're a businessman, and all businessmen are bad. Mom said that there is no business without deception." Noah let out a low laugh, seemingly helpless yet indulgent. He asked again, "Then let darling set the conditions, and I'll agree to all of them." "Okay." Seeing Noah looking serious, I then told him about my pregnancy, as if complaining. Extremely aggrieved. "I used to work in a bar. I was marked by a bad guy, and I'm pregnant. He's so bad. Not only did he make me pregnant, but he also turned me into an omega." The more I talked, the more aggrieved I became, on the verge of crying at any moment. Noah frowned, his face covered with a thin layer of frost. "So you want to have an abortion?" It was another affirmative sentence. I was stunned for a moment, then shook my head. "I don't want to, but I can't afford to raise the child. I can't even support myself. Do you know that 9 times out of 10, a beta will die on the operating table during an abortion?" Noah's voice was very cold, like the biting winter wind, making me shiver. He continued, "Just think about it. At that time, you'll be lying there all alone, with blood all underneath." I covered my ears and interrupted him with a sob. "You're so annoying." Noah looked complicated. He spoke again, his tone much softer. "Darling, keep the child. I'll take responsibility." I shook my head and disagreed. Who would be willing to be a stepfather? Moreover, Noah is a top-class alpha from the upper class. I took a deep breath and summoned up the courage to look directly into Noah's eyes and said, "I know it's not your child, and you have no obligation to raise him. So, we can make a deal between us." "What deal?" Noah seemed a bit unhappy, but I still forced myself to say, Before I give birth to the child, you provide me with food and shelter. Biting my lower lip, I continued. I'm barely an omega now. Judging from yesterday, our compatibility should be very high, so I can provide you with that kind of help. After saying these words, I nervously stared at Noah's expression, afraid that he would refuse. After all, this proposal doesn't bring much benefit to him. Noah was silent for a moment, and a look I couldn't understand flashed in his eyes. He slowly said, "Are you sure you want to do this? This isn't the best choice for you." "I'm sure." As soon as I finished speaking, I was picked up by Noah. Just as I was about to scream, a black card with a metallic sheen was stuffed into my mouth. "Don't you want money? If you drop it once, 100,000 will be deducted." I stared at him with wide open eyes. What the hell? A gentleman can get money, but not be humiliated. But for the sake of money, it's not unacceptable. I stubbornly raised my head and stared at him with wet eyes. I had the intention of holding it until the end of time. Noah let out a soft chuckle. "What? Still want to empty me out? It'll be over soon." Noah's tone was casual as he pinched my blushing earlobe. Damn it, I knew he had ill intentions. He actually pulled some sneaky moves. I barely managed to keep the black card from falling, but he got more and more excessive. "Sweetie, your endurance is not good. It seems you still need more training." I could no longer hold it and directly spat out the black card in my mouth, then fled in a hurry. Noah is really nice to me and also very good to the baby in my belly. In just 5 months, I've gained weight. He cooks delicious food for me in different ways every day. There's never a shortage of bird's nest, shark fin, abalone, and sea cucumber. In his words, he wants to give the best nutrition to the baby. Although he still hasn't marked me, the soothing of his pheromones has become more and more frequent, making me hardly feel any discomfort during pregnancy. But I'm just bored and like to be a nuisance. I always go to him to cause trouble for no reason. Like right now, I was sitting on Noah's lap, tugging at his tie and swaying it back and forth. "Boss, I've cleaned myself up for you as your secretary," I deliberately said in a sugary voice and even provocatively licked his earlobe. Noah's breathing became significantly quicker, and his eyes darkened. Just as I was feeling smug, I heard a soft cough coming from the computer. The real secretary, Mr. Noah, the meeting. Only then did I realize that Noah was still connected to a remote meeting. I let out a few hearty laughs and said, "Goodbye, boss." The secretary, "Am leaving first." I tried to get off Noah's lap using both my hands and feet, but he grabbed me back. He hung up the meeting, pinched my face, and looked at me half smiling. "Now, William, we can continue." He's completely overcome by his animal instincts. Afterwards, I nestled in Noah's arms and complained to him discontentedly. "Noah, why are you so nice to me? I'm almost unable to leave you." Noah buried his head behind my neck, his tone becoming even more gentle with a hint of tremor. "Then don't leave." "Okay, no, I'm going to leave. This is our agreement. What about what we had before?" Noah said it very softly and I didn't catch it clearly. When I asked again, he refused to say. I heard that Noah's birthday is in a couple of days. Then I have to prepare a birthday gift for him. What should I prepare? I don't even know what Noah likes. Just then, the maid came in to clean the room. I deliberately stretched and yawned. "Excuse me, sister, what's your young master's favorite thing?" The young master doesn't have anything in particular that he likes. However, if we're talking about something he cherishes, apart from you, it's the safe in the study. "A safe?" My eyes lit up. Hee, this is a good lead. According to popular knowledge, 7 out of 10 alphas keep their important things in a safe. While Noah was out, I sneaked into his study. The safe was placed behind the desk. It was black and looked very high-end. I tried a few commonly used passwords, but none of them worked. It seems Noah is quite cautious. I walked around the safe a few times, trying hard to recall numbers related to Noah. His birthday? No. My birthday? No either. Our wedding anniversary? Wait, we're not even married. Where would there be an anniversary? What on earth is the password? I ruffled my hair and suddenly remembered that ring. Noah came for this ring at the beginning, but later, I don't know why, he didn't take it back. I took it out and took a close look. There was a line of small words engraved on the inner circle of the ring. Exactly. It was a 4-digit number. I entered it, and with a click, it was unlocked. I excitedly opened the safe. What came into view were 2 bright red marriage certificates and a photo. My heart sank instantly. But when I saw the people in the photo, suddenly rose to my throat. The people in the photo were none other than me and a little brat I hated more than anything. Back then, my family hadn't gone bankrupt yet and was considered one of the top families in City A. The Hua family and our family were family friends for generations, and the relationship between the two families was very good. The whole family had an only son who looked sickly. I couldn't remember his name, so I called him Sickly Hua. Sickly Hua had been gloomy since childhood. He didn't like to talk or laugh. His parents always said he was a silent person. But unexpectedly, this silent person set his eyes on me. When we were kids, he always liked to follow me around, never leaving my side. Wherever I went, he would follow. Whatever I played, he would play too. Even when I went to the toilet, he would wait at the door. When I told him to get lost, he would keep a straight face and say he wanted to protect his wife. Such a little thing, always talking about his wife. Later, when I was 5 years old, I became a beta, and he became an alpha at 8, and an impressive 5S alpha at that. After knowing that he couldn't affect me, I wasn't as resistant to his getting close. But this guy got even worse. He either bit my neck or said he wanted to marry me. Every time he bit me so hard that it hurt like hell. And I couldn't even dodge. I'm not an omega. Why is this little brat so ignorant? Later, the little brat's whole family was going abroad. The little brat refused to go no matter what and clung to me, leaving my face all wet with his saliva. In order to send him away, I took the initiative to make an agreement with him that when he made a lot of money, he could come back to marry me. Only then did I finally get some peace and quiet. Unexpectedly, he actually came back, and he even changed his name. At that time, I had just transmigrated here. I didn't understand the rules of the ABO world and had no concept of 5S. But now it's different. I've even differentiated into an omega. Even if I had no concept before, I have to know how crazy an alpha of this level can be. Moreover, he's married. Thinking of this, I decided to run away. Anyway, the baby is about to be born. In a short time, I've basically fulfilled the deal. To avoid attracting Noah's attention, I specially bought a train ticket. When I left, I didn't take anything, including that ring. All I took with me was my cookie tin and Noah's coat. There was no way. The baby in my belly can't do without Noah's pheromones. It would make a big fuss as soon as it couldn't smell them. I thought there would be a lot of people on the train, and Noah definitely couldn't find me. But I didn't expect that in less than half a day. Noah chased me to the railway station. At that time, I was standing in line at the ticket gate with a 7-month pregnant belly, holding a biscuit tin in one hand and a train ticket in the other. Suddenly, a big hand covered my mouth from behind, and the familiar scent instantly surrounded me. "Sweetheart, where are you going?" Noah's deep voice sounded in my ear, with a dangerous tone. I was so scared that my legs went weak. Only then did I realize that the area around me had been cleared, and there wasn't a single soul in sight. "Come back with me." Noah grabbed my wrist and was about to lead me back. "I'm not going back. I don't want to go back." I struggled desperately, but my 7-month pregnant belly made it extremely inconvenient, and I simply couldn't move. "Sweetheart, stop being naughty." Noah coldly picked me up, with a terrifyingly gentle tone. "Let's go home." "No. Let me go. I don't want to go back with you." I kicked and punched in his arms, but it was like scratching an itch through a boot for Noah. "Why?" Noah carried me outside without a single pause in his steps. "You lied to me. You're so bad." "You." I couldn't think of any other swear words, so I could only angrily repeat, "You're bad. You're bad." Noah let out a low laugh, and the vibration from his chest clearly reached me. "What exactly did I do that's bad?" You're just bad." Knowing I was in the wrong, I could only act unreasonably. "Oh? Then what exactly did I do that's bad?" Noah persisted, annoyed by his question. I blurted out, "You clearly knew me a long time ago but pretended not to. You're a big liar. I hate you so much. I'll never be with you." The surrounding air suddenly fell silent. Noah stopped in his tracks, looking down at me with a cold look in his eyes. After realizing that Noah was really angry, I instantly wilted. That arrogance was like being doused with a bucket of cold water and instantly extinguished. Sorry," I murmured softly, my eyes shifting uneasily, not daring to look into Noah's eyes. Noah gave a cold snort and said nothing. He carried me out of the train station in big strides and headed straight for the parking lot. As soon as we got in the car, Noah roughly threw me into the passenger seat, without even buckling my seat belt. He started the car. The tires made a screeching sound as they rubbed against the ground. I was jolted by the inertia and quickly grabbed the car door. "What?" "Noah, drive slowly," I said cautiously, afraid of annoying him again. Noah ignored me and drove even faster. I was so scared that I closed my eyes and tightly protected my stomach with both hands. Finally, we arrived home. Just as I wanted to sit down and catch my breath, I suddenly heard Noah say, "Stand up." Hearing this, I tensed up all over and didn't dare to move, standing still on the spot. Noah's aura was so powerful that it seemed that every move of his could affect my breathing. "Turn around and face the wall," he coldly issued the order. His overly cold attitude made me burst into tears all of a sudden. I awkwardly turned my back and curled my feet. Lowering my head, I then noticed that a blanket had been laid on the floor at some point. Time passed bit by bit. It was dinner time, and my stomach was growling. But Noah was having his dinner leisurely beside me, not even glancing at me. My legs were weak, so I had to squat on the warm blanket and look up at him. Perhaps my gaze was too eager. Finally, a cold voice sounded. "Come here." I crawled over with a sigh of relief, leaned against the man's leg, and looked up at him pitifully. The man showed mercy, speared a small piece of steak and put it in my mouth, just like feeding a pet dog. I chewed it, but my eyes sparkled. I still wanted more. "Do you know what you did wrong?" I lowered my head again and lay still on the man's leg. He let out an impatient snort, and his long fingers pinched my chin, forcing me to look up at him. "Speak." My voice trembled, and there was a nasal twang due to fear. I shouldn't have run away, nor should I have spoken ill of you." This answer seemed to barely satisfy him. Noah finally let go of his hand. The next second, I was pulled into his arms, and my cheek pressed against his hot and strong chest. The smell of pheromones assailed my nostrils, warm and intoxicating. I couldn't help taking a deep breath and then curled up even tighter, as if I could melt into his body like this. And then, his voice sounded above my head, deep and magnetic. I subconsciously shook my head. A big hand covered the back of my head and pressed me into his embrace without any room for resistance. "Think it over before you speak." "I can't think clearly. Where else could it be? I don't think I did anything wrong." "Mr. Noah is already married. What does it count for him to do this with me? Does it count as having an affair? I don't want to be the other woman, nor do I want to break up someone else's marriage." So I shook my head again. Mr. Noah was silent when his voice fell again. His tone was even more gentle and patient. "Sweetheart, then let me ask like this. Do you like me? Do you like Noah? Do I like Noah?" I met his gaze. Those dark eyes were bottomless, but one could immediately see the affection in them. I have to say that whether it's in terms of ability or appearance, this man is undoubtedly the top-notch alpha. Moreover, we have a compatibility rate as high as 98%. The answer is undoubtedly yes. But of course, this isn't simply a crush. It's the kind of primitive and instinctive desire that makes even the marrow tremble due to pheromones. And this kind of liking and desire shouldn't exist in the world of a third party. Before I could finish speaking, I was pulled up by Noah. He seemed to be holding onto the last shred of hope. "If you don't like me, why did you take my coat?" I pursed my lips. I had a lot to say, but in the end, I only said, "Because the baby needs it." Then I was kicked out. Noah said he'd let me go and give me freedom. Looking at the black card in my hand, I suddenly felt that everything was wrong. This is the 12th day since I started chasing Noah. A week ago, I rummaged through my parents' relics and found a letter. It wrote about how the Gu and Hua families made an infant betrothal and how I would marry Noah. That's right, Mary. So those two marriage certificates are actually mine and Noah's. I was worried for so long for nothing. How pitiful I am. And I was kicked out. Now, if I try to go back eagerly, no one will want me. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I squatted in front of the villa as usual. I rubbed my hands and blew on them, but it's really too cold today. The bleak morning wind pours in from the collar of the pale leather jacket, and the coolness climbs along the exposed skin, scrambling to get into the bone joints. I stamped my frozen feet, shrank my neck, and couldn't help shivering with my teeth chattering. I complained in a low voice. "Damn it, Noah. Does he really want me to freeze to death here?" Just as I was considering whether to go back first and put on a pair of long johns before coming back, the villa's door slowly opened. A man in a black suit walked out. "It's not Noah." The man walked up to me and bowed slightly. "Mr. William, the young master invites you in." I was stunned for a moment, flattered. "Really?" The man nodded and made a pleased gesture. I happily followed behind him and walked into the villa. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Noah sitting on the sofa, holding a document in his hand, with an extremely gloomy face. I nervously swallowed my saliva, slowed down my steps, and shuffled over to him. "What?" "Noah," I called him in a low voice, like a child who had made a mistake. Noah looked up and gave me a cold glance. "Come here." I obediently walked over and stood in front of him. "Sign it." "What?" I took the document in a daze, took a look, and was immediately stunned. Divorce agreement. 4 large characters were emblazoned on the title, so glaring that it took my breath away. You want to divorce me?" Noah looked at me expressionlessly. "What? Are you going to cry again?" I was slightly stunned, lowered my head, and forcefully held back the urge to cry, biting my lower lip until I tasted a hint of blood. I then raised my head and stubbornly looked at him. "I won't sign." "Noah, you won't let me go home." And now you don't want me either. The veins on Noah's forehead bulged, and he was extremely angry. I can't give you what you want. You'd better sign it. My heart went cold. I knew that if I didn't take the initiative, things between Noah and me would really be over. Without thinking much, I suddenly pounced on him, tightly wrapped my arms around Noah's neck, and pressed my lips against his. Noah obviously didn't expect me to do this. His body stiffened, and his hands instinctively supported my waist. I curled my toes, knelt on one knee on his leg, and desperately kissed him, like a dying fish. Our teeth clashed, and the pain made me gasp. After the kiss ended, I gasped for breath and looked at him with red, rimmed eyes. If you leave, I'll kill myself. Before I finished speaking, the next second, I was pushed down on the sofa. The man's long fingers ran through my hair, roughly holding the back of my head, forcing me to tilt my head back to bear his passionate kiss. Our lips and tongues intertwined, and the strong pheromones of the alpha rushed towards me in an overwhelming manner. I instantly went limp and grabbed his lapel, whimpering. The sound of the snow falling and breaking the branches was just like my rapid heartbeat at the moment. Our clothes were removed, and our skin touched. I fully exposed my neck, almost in a submissive posture, pleading with the man in front of me. Mark me, Noah. The man's pupils suddenly constricted, with turbulent emotions surging in the depths of his eyes. He reached out and clamped my chin, his thumb pressing heavily on my swollen and red lips. Do you know what you're saying? Marking is no child's play. I reached up and held his wrist, gently stroking that small patch of skin. I know, but I don't want to leave you. All I want is you. The man's Adam's apple bobbed, and he stared at me intently. After a while, he pulled me into his arms, his scorching breath spraying on my neck. You'd better not regret it. The next second, his sharp canine teeth pierced my vulnerable gland. Tears blurred my vision, and I trembled and tried to escape the alpha's mark. However, Noah firmly grasped my waist, not allowing me the slightest struggle. Be good and bear it. His voice was extremely hoarse. It'll be over soon. Okay, I'll bear it. I'm the one who pursued you. It's nothing to endure a bit of pain. I don't know how long it took before the alpha behind me released his bite, and the rioting pheromones gradually subsided. I collapsed all of a sudden. Noah pinched my nose tip and said, "What's our relationship? Why are you throwing yourself at me?" I tilted my head up flatteringly and wrapped my arms around his neck with a smile. Don't be angry. It's all my fault. I didn't figure it out before, but now I do. Noah raised his eyebrows, and his big hand covered the back of my head, gently rubbing it. Tell me, why do you want to be with me again? Because, I bit my lip and looked away. Because I've checked the information. Once a beta's pouch is open, they will become an omega. I'm already an omega, and you're the only alpha. So what? If you drive me away, I'll die. Noah snorted coldly. Don't give me that. You won't die. I blinked my eyes, with tears welling up in them. But I'll be really sad. I like Noah, but Noah doesn't want me anymore. Noah pinched my face. Tell the truth. All right. The truth is, I like you. I admitted it loudly, throwing caution to the wind. What do you like about me? I like that you're handsome, have a great body, are rich and powerful, and are nice to me. I racked my brains to think of words of praise, and compliments were pouring out of me. Anything else? Obviously, Noah wasn't satisfied with these superficial compliments. I rolled my eyes, leaned close to his ear, gently bit his earlobe, and said in a soft voice, most importantly, you're really good at that. It can be addictive if we do it too much. Noah's body visibly stiffened, and his breathing became rapid. I took the opportunity to put my arms around his neck and blew on his ear. So, Mr. Noah, can you like me again now? Noah was satisfied, and he couldn't hold back the corners of his mouth. After a while, he said reservedly, there's no again. I've always liked you, from the first day we met, until forever. A few months later, 2 little cubs were born. They are both top-level alphas. It's like winning the genetic lottery. I don't believe I have such genes. So the problem must lie with the other father of the children. What's wrong? When I burst into the study, Noah was calmly looking at business documents. I suddenly said, you're holding it upside down. Noah calmly turned the document around, but I grabbed his ear. It wasn't upside down at all. He was clearly feeling guilty. I gritted my teeth and said, Noah, have you done something bad behind my back? I'm asking you, who is the other father of the children? Look. His mouth corners are almost reaching the sky. I knew it. This guy has been up to no good. He's been lusting after me since childhood. It's no wonder he came to find me as soon as he returned to the country. I threw the baby bottle at his face and angrily kicked him, saying, you can sleep with your pillow tonight. You can forget about the babies. After saying that, I proudly left the room with my 2 cubs in my arms. Serves you right for being up to no good. Serves you right for not being honest. I originally wanted to punish this guy severely, but at night the two little cubs insisted on seeing their father. I could only call Noah over with a gloomy face. Noah held the two cubs and showed off in front of me. I was still angry and kicked him again. Sweetheart, I was wrong. Noah immediately admitted his mistake with a sincere attitude. I proudly raised my head and ordered him with a grunt. Go! Stand in the corner and reflect on your mistakes. I'm very vengeful. Noah obediently walked to the corner and faced the wall. I held the baby and sat on the bed, enjoying the picture of the domineering CEO standing in the corner. After a while, I got sleepy and yawned. The baby also got sleepy and started to fuss. I tried to soothe the baby for a long time but couldn't calm him down. Hearing the noise, Noah turned around and said, Sweetheart, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Don't be angry anymore. I gave him a disdainful look and ignored him. Noah walked to the bed, took one of the babies from my hands and gently patted him to sleep. I took the other baby and also gently patted him. The two babies soon fell asleep. Looking at Noah, I couldn't help laughing and said, Actually, I knew that the baby is yours. Noah also smiled and said, Yes, I know. Then why didn't you tell me earlier? I wanted you to like me more. I knew since I was a child that you didn't like me. So when I knew you were pregnant with the baby, I was very scared. I was afraid that you would hate me even more. I punched him and said, You're such a fool. Noah hugged me and kissed my forehead. Sweetheart, I love you. Me too. The moonlight outside the window was bright and the room was warm and sweet.